Our next guest has led the Arms Control Association's research and policy advocacy on a range of issues, including the cancellation of new nuclear weapons programs and the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran, which President Trump withdrew from 2 years after the deal went into effect. Daryl Kimball, the executive director of the Arms Control Association, joins us now. Daryl, it's good to have you here. What has happened in the years following President Trump's withdrawal from the nuclear deal with Iran? In other words, how did we get to where we are today?
Well, a decade ago, President Obama and other world leaders negotiated the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the first nuclear deal, and it held back Iran's capabilities. They were more than a year away from being able to just have the material, the raw material for a nuclear weapon. But Donald Trump complained that this was not good enough. He was urged by his advisors and many in the Republican Party to pull out of the deal. He made additional demands on the Iranians. They did not take the bait. They did not go to the negotiating table. And then beginning in 2019, they began building up their capabilities again. And since then, they have been amassing more highly enriched uranium. They've been increasing the number of machines, the centrifuges necessary to produce more. They've been reducing the International Atomic Energy Agency's access. So that's how we got to this point. So in many ways, the problem that we're facing today with the Iranian nuclear program is a problem very much of the Iranian making, of course, but also Donald Trump's decision in 2018. So, it's very disconcerting that President Trump, who said in his second term he wanted to renew talks with Iran, to reach a deal, to block its pathways to the bomb. He took an abrupt turn in June at the, I think, behest of the Israeli prime minister, and to pursue military action. In our estimate, this is in the long run going to make the likelihood of an Iranian bomb actually more likely. Yes, the successful mission by the B-2s and the cruise missiles, it was successful as a military mission, but there is no way that Iran's nuclear capabilities, its infrastructure, its materials can be wiped out with this massive but still kind of a single shot military operation. There's a lot we don't know. The Iranians have probably taken away their highly enriched uranium to another secret location, and they have a third uranium enrichment site that is yet to be dealt with by the international community or these military strikes.
Well, we know why the president has said this, but talk a little bit more about why it was so important that the U.S. strike at this moment.
I don't think it was right to strike at this moment. I think we need to step back a second. 3 days before Israel launched its strikes on Iran, the U.S. and the Iranians were about to meet again for another round of talks on a deal, a diplomatic deal, to move back Iran's capabilities. That Israeli strike disrupted those talks. President Trump pivoted. I think we need to be clear-eyed here and understand that Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has never wanted a diplomatic agreement between the U.S. and Iran on these issues, I think the strike was in part designed, yes, to knock back Iran's nuclear capabilities, but also to sabotage these talks. So the other thing I would just note, there was no imminence to the Israeli attacks or the U.S. attack, in the sense that the U.S. intelligence community, the International Atomic Energy Agency, were very clear about the fact that while Iran was just weeks away from amassing enough raw material for a dozen or so nuclear weapons, they were a year or more away from being able to assemble a device small enough and light enough to be delivered on a ballistic missile.
All right. Well, Daryl Kimball, uniquely qualified to speak on this subject. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.